trying to run through names real quick. Alejo, Dale, myself, and Hoyt, and Ty just.
Hello, Eddie.
Perfect. Hello.
I can't hear. I can't hear him.
Can everybody else hear me?
I think we got everybody else.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
For those of you guys that just joined, can you mute your microphones when you're not speaking so that we can kill the background noise a little bit? Please, and thank you. Too many other people.
Okay. We will go ahead and call this meeting to order at 3:02. Penny, Tori just texted me, said she can't find the link. So if you or Troy could send her that as well, as Troy Palmer. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 3:02. I don't have any announcements other than happy International Women's Day for all our lovely ladies. I know we have got one public comment. I believe Michael McCorkle is here.
Nobody's talking to each other.
What's that, Hoyt? Did you have a question, Hoyt? Okay, moving forward. Mr. McCorkle is here to give his public comment. So without further ado, Michael, take it away.
Okay, thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Director Hauptman, Board of Park Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. I recently contacted Director Hauptman and met with him last Friday to discuss strategies for encouraging and managing local volunteerism to help clean our parks. I grew up here in Wichita, playing as a small kid in Ailey Park, doing summer programs at Sims Park, riding bikes along the river to Oak Park, visiting Watson, Herman Hill, lots of other parks as I grew up. In high school, I camped and explored around Cowskin Creek and what is now Pawnee Prairie Park.
It's 2:30. Oh, I see. Okay.
Wichita has some great parks, truly. For the last 30 years, I've lived in the Middle East, Asia, and Europe, and have visited a lot of parks. I love walking in green areas, so always visit parks wherever I have lived and visited. And since returning to Wichita to look after my aging parents, I have revisited many of Wichita's parks, and yesterday, for the first time, visited Swanson Park also. And sadly, many of Wichita's parks are strewn with litter, and the problem is widespread. I talked with Director Hauptman about ways to promote volunteerism to help clean Wichita parks. We agreed that a planned and promoted effort supported by Wichita Parks and Recreation, encouraging citizen participation as local volunteers to clean neighborhood parks was an idea that merited further consideration. In light of budgetary limitations due to tax revenue shortfalls, I encourage the Board of Park Commissioners to explore and support new ways to enlist citizen volunteers to help clean our parks. I'm most willing to help as best I can in volunteer capacity to develop this proposal through a subcommittee or whatever means you guys decide is appropriate. That's my statement. Thanks for the opportunity.
Michael, thank you. Are there any questions or comments while Michael is still with us?
Just wanted to note that we had a very positive meeting.
Testing. Hello.
Hoyt, we got you. I'm gonna mute you here. Hoyt, can you hear us okay?
I think the problem is on his side because I don't think he can hear us.
Okay.
So I think his speakers are bad.
Okay.
We can hear him. So Penny,
Yes.
if you can message him telling him that we can hear him, but apparently he can't hear us. So he's going to have to type any of his questions if he wants. Sorry for the interruption. So Michael, we had a very positive meeting, and we came up with some really good ideas of some things we can try out to start to leverage all our volunteerism and really kind of put those efforts into more strategic actions to reduce the amount of trash. So pretty excited about that, and I appreciate Michael taking the time to come visit and his energies and thoughts about improving our parks. So thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Michael. I look forward to working with you here in the future. Okay, if there's no more public comment, which I don't believe I received anymore, we can move forward. We do not have minutes finalized quite yet from February 8th. I would like to make a motion to move item 5, the golf update and first tee, up to our first agenda item here, if everybody's okay with that. So I would move to approve moving the golf update forward.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay. If golf is ready, we can get going with item A, GAC meeting schedule.
Is that the amendment?
So I'll just jump right in. A couple of things just to let you guys know a little bit higher level. Obviously, if you haven't heard this by now, Mr. Hendricks has resigned his position as superintendent of golf. So right now, what I'm going to be doing is working with our golf staff, working with our golf pros to make sure that we are still operating at the high levels that we do, and making sure that we are taking care of our customers. So communication with the golf staff is going to be paramount, and that's what I'm going to be working on in the next, actually tomorrow. I have several meetings with golf staff, and we'll continue operating even though Mr. Hendricks is not part of our organization. And if you also recall, Rowan has also resigned. She took a job with on the Air Force Base. So a lot of our administrative staff is going to have to take the load, whether it's payroll, whether it's purchasing, whether it is hiring staff. Our own administrative staff is going to be absorbing a lot of that through the general fund. So just wanted to let you guys know about that. The Golf Advisory Committee meeting schedule, I think we were looking at the bylaws. So Elizabeth, I think there was a question about, I think it went back to the Golf Advisory Committee that they voted to meet monthly. If that's the case, I think there's a chance to go ahead and move that forward. So I'll leave that with Elizabeth. I think there are certain steps that need to take place.
A copy of the proposed amendment was sent to you all with your agenda. Does everybody have that? And it was what we call a delineated copy, just so you could see what was being changed. And I just set it up for the second Tuesday of each month. After I put that in there, I went back to my notes, and they weren't clear if that was the Tuesday that was wanted. If not, that can certainly be changed. But the meetings have been set to be held monthly on the second Tuesday of the month at City Hall, in a conference room, or at any other facility that's designated, or unless otherwise specified. And I added some language in there. I believe it was Dale requested that we put language in there about being able to participate by telephone or video. Law is slowly amending all the bylaws for all the boards to allow that, for obvious reasons. But even if a bylaw doesn't say that, if it satisfies the Open Meetings Act, then it's okay, unless the bylaws say meetings cannot be by telephone, which these did not, but I went ahead and put it in there, put that language in there. So that is the amendment. Monthly meetings, and thank you participate remotely as long as the technology's available and that everyone can hear them, or members of the public who are in attendance can hear the absent member.
Dale, I'll leave this up to you since this is kind of your baby.
Oh, that sounds fine. I was just wondering if it's possible to make that on the first Tuesday. The park board meets the second Monday of each month. Is that not correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
So just for the sake of timely action, if there's something that the golf committee would want to have come before the park board, if they could meet the week prior, that would give it time to get on the agenda, and as opposed to waiting 3 weeks for the park board to be able to address it. Would that be possible?
Sure. That's that I just put second. That was my memory recollection. Unfortunately, I didn't write anything down.
That's why we made the emergency meeting we had last week, the first week of the month, so it would be prior to the park board the next week. It's a matter of timing.
So you want to change the word second to first?
If that's
In the
agreeable
proposed
to
amendment?
all, I'd make that a motion to adopt what you've proposed there with the change to make it the first Thursday of each month.
Thursday or Tuesday?
But either one is fine. Tuesday is fine. If that's what you've got Tuesday, if that's the will of the body, that'd be fine.
Those of you that are on the Golf Advisory Committee, is that satisfactory with that committee, do you think?
Yeah, I believe so. I can't remember our discussion about whether Tuesdays or Thursdays work for everybody, but as long as it's on the calendar a month prior, I think it should be fine. So doesn't matter to me whether it's Tuesday or Thursday. Let's stick with Tuesday for now.
Okay.
And I will go ahead and second Dale's motion. Is there any further discussion? Got a motion and a second on the table. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Eddie, you will have to sign that.
Okay.
Sign the new bylaws. They'll be effective as of today. Because you passed them today, but you and Penny will sign them, or you're the golf clerk.
Happy to do it.
Somehow we'll get that signed.
I've been forwarding them via email. He signs them and emails them back.
Okay.
Is that satisfactory?
That's
And then
fine.
I'll sign it after he does, so we'll have that.
That's fine. Okay. Thank you. We'll get that to you.
Thank you. Okay, item B, GAC attendance.
So I think there's been some concern and questions about several of the members that are not showing. Particularly, I think we have one now that has not been to a golf advisory committee meeting in several months. And so I think there's a process in regards to replacing this person. And so we just need to work through.
I want to remind everybody real quick that if you are not speaking, please go ahead and mute your microphone. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I'm not sure if anybody else is.
I am.
So again,
Okay.
Eddie, the question is, how do we replace, I think there's two members on the Golf Advisory Committee meeting that have not been in attendance. And so we need to find ways to replace them. I don't know if, I can't recall if it's one or two.
We just have one left because we replaced Tom West already with Michael Ward.
Yes, that's correct. So is it okay if we say the individual's name here, or?
Yeah, that's definitely fine.
Okay, it's Corey, isn't it?
Corey
Corey
Rainwater.
Rainwater.
Yes.
He is Tori's appointee, correct?
That is correct.
She was.
Tori, I know your Wi-Fi is popping in and out. I got your text message, but if you're with us, and you don't mind answering, do you have anybody in mind for the GAC, or have you talked to Mr. Rainwater about his attendance if he wants to continue to be on the GAC? Okay, I'm not sure if she is with us or not. Troy, have you had any discussion with Mr. Rainwater about regarding his attendance? Does he want to continue to be a part of this?
I have spoken to him, and no, he does not want to be involved any longer.
Okay. Well,
Troy, could he send a resignation letter and then we wouldn't have to go through the process?
I can definitely make that happen.
Okay. That would save us time and effort of sending out the certified copy and all that has to be done if he doesn't, want to fight it.
Can he do that via email?
I don't know why he couldn't.
Okay.
I don't know why it couldn't be email.
I'll email him tomorrow, and hopefully I'll get a quick copy of that, and I'll share it with the rest of the board. So maybe by next month, Tori will have somebody in mind that we can go ahead and replace this Corey with. That would be great.
okay. I'll get with Tori offline and make sure that she is on the same page. She just texted me, currently have video but no audio. So I'm not sure if this is a recurring theme. I think I just saw Hoyt leave the meeting, but we're having some serious technical issues right now. Hopefully we can work through this here, but I'll get with Tori, make sure she's on the same page with the rest of us, and have somebody ready to go, teed up, if you will, pun intended, for next
Very
meeting.
good.
This should be Troy Palmer.
Okay. Do we have the rounds report from last month?
We do not. I don't have that data yet. Like I mentioned, Mr. Hendricks has left, and so I have triple duty right now, and I'll try to get that as quickly as I can, and when I do, I'll send that out.
Sure, thank you. Item D, we asked the GAC asked the golf professionals at our 4 golf courses to come up with a list of items that they wanted to see. Troy, before I get going here, this item D is this their wish list, or is this their maintenance items? I know we asked for both. Want to make sure we're talking about the same thing here.
So there are 2 different things, and what I do have, I have their wish list. I do not have the specific maintenance items that they've listed. So that's
well, I
something
think this wish list kind of encompasses some maintenance items. Well, in fact, I know I read it several times over, and I mean, we can say maintenance kind of falls in their wish list here. So if you don't mind reading those off, I will kind of briefly explain to the board, why we asked this of our golf pros and kind of what they came up with. So I believe it was last month, we asked our golf pros to give us a list of wish list items, if you will, just so that we know, kind of where they stand, what they need to be successful. And it kind of blew me away a little bit. As you see it here, they took some serious time and effort into this thing, and really proud of those guys for sitting down. This is probably not something that they would love to be doing at 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. They probably want to be taking care of their pro shop and the golf course and what have you, the several fires that are bound to happen when you're running a golf course. Certainly we appreciate their time and effort on this to kind of open our eyes a little bit on what they need. Certainly some of it was fairly obvious, and some of it was very informational. So I hope you guys feel the same way. Troy?
So yeah, we have a whole list here. I guess we could go down each one of them, and there's a little bit of history and story behind each one of these as well. So I guess we'll just go ahead and start with Colin's list. He's out at Sim. So hire an assistant golf professional or a super seasonal Customer service is one of the things that is really a big concern, and with the lack of staffing that we have right now. So right now we have a hiring freeze across the whole city. It's all positions in all departments and all sections. So we do have some vacancies in golf. It's just a matter of hopefully we can turn things around. We did have a lot of positive financial feedback at the end of the year, and if we can continue growing our rounds, hopefully we can start filling some of these positions.
Troy, could I get a question? You said a hiring freeze. Does that apply to the seasonal workers that the courses hire each year about this time?
So far, yes, it does, and we are putting in all of our requisitions to start filling all of our seasonal part-time employees, not just for golf, but for aquatics and for all of our summer programs. So there's just going to be a slew of hirings here pretty soon, hopefully, once we could get that approval.
Well, does that not present an operational issue for the courses? We're heading into the aeration season. I know there's preparation work has to be done that require seasonal workers to be on board. How are we going to do that without that help?
You're absolutely right, Dale. That also presents a challenge for all areas in the department, because as we get into the spring and summer and fall, probably we rely a whole lot more on our seasonal part-time staff than it does on our full-time staff. So
would it make sense for the enterprise funds to be exempt from that seasonal? Enterprise funds are designed, or enterprise departments are designed to be run like a business, and yet we're being saddled with a hiring freeze that applies to the government side. It's hard to run an enterprise like a business when you have your hands tied behind your back.
I agree. And also when you have a sling and when your arms in a sling.
Well, I'm sorry I hit you, Troy. I didn't mean to hit you that hard, but hey, Eddie, just quickly, we talked about this at the GAC and made the point, it's great to go through this list, and it is a superb effort by the pros, but the issue is we are in the middle of a management transition, and we don't know how that's going to turn out. These items are great, but would be more appropriately directed to whatever permanent management model comes into place. We can spend time talking about it and weighing in, but it seems like it would be more appropriate for the professional, whoever that is, who was brought in to run the system, to review this list and then kind of do a little triage. We're not experts on this. Again, a wonderful effort by the pros. Certainly brings a lot of issues to the table, but we can spend time doing this. But I think it's kind of a waste of time for us to do it until we have a permanent management structure in place.
Ty?
Yeah, so just so I'm clear, so with Troy Hendricks' resignation, so that position will remain vacant for the foreseeable future until the hiring freeze is lifted. Does that apply to that position? I assume it does, just like everything else, right?
That is correct. And in addition to that, I still don't know what direction we're going with a third-party operator. I don't know if that's going to happen next week, next month, next year. So in the meantime, we're going to continue operating as if we've been operating all along. And I'm hoping that I could fill this position in an emergency situation and convince the city manager to let me do that. In the meantime, we're just going to put other resources to make sure that we operate golf as best as we can.
To Dale's point, Dale, I think it's important that we share this with the park board. I can't remember who mentioned it last Thursday. We cut it short last Thursday. I think everybody had a chance to read it and go through it. I'm confident in that, but I think it's important that we share with the park board what could be coming up in the next, 6 months, year, whatever it may be, next week. This is what's on the pros' minds. This is what they feel needs to happen for them to be successful at each golf course. I believe you asked for it.
I did.
I understand where you're coming from with let's wait until we find a new person or a new management company or what have you. But I think it's more for us right now. And I'll pass it to Alejo because I see he's got a question.
Thank you. Thank you, Eddie. Dale, I think you make a great point about the hiring freeze and how it applies to our golfing division if it is that it's operated as an enterprise fund. So I guess my question to Troy and Eddie is, is this a concern that we can bring up to our elected officials? I mean, is this a recommendation that we can make as a park board that, if the golf department's going to be operated as an enterprise fund, that we exempt it from this freeze so that we can properly staff our courses? And I think we showed even last year, despite COVID, the courses were profitable and being used quite frequently. And so I think that we can, I don't know. I don't see why we would limit ourselves if the courses were trending in the right direction last year.
So if I can help answer that question, I'm making that plea to fill a lot of positions, not just in golf, but a lot of positions, but particularly these ones in golf as we start kicking off the season and get a little bit more and more busy. One of the reasons why this hiring freeze is also encompassing the enterprise funds, particularly golf, is that prior to last year, it was a huge trend of losing money. And the direction that was provided to us was for us to hold positions, which is labor costs are the most expensive costs, not just in all of recreation, but across our whole organization. So that was the strategy that was presented to us that we had to follow. Now that we're in the black and we are seeing rounds improve, I think there's an opportunity for us to get ahead of the game, and I don't want to get behind the game by not having enough positions. And so I'm making the request on a regular basis, and I think as financially the city manager feels comfortable with the way golf is going, and maybe as they see things are going forward with whether or not we have a third-party operator, I think those are all decision points that the city manager has. So I keep working on that. That's my job, and I keep trying to make that happen.
How can we help you as the park board, Troy?
Share it with your council members. I think that's really important that they know what's going on. There's unintended consequences when you start not filling positions. And again, I keep going back towards not just golf, but everywhere. If we start falling behind in maintenance, general operations, we fall behind in all the programs that we're offering. We're going to have to start closing facilities. Those are all going to have negative impacts. But getting back to golf in particular, we are operating with 21 full-time employees, which I think 3 or 4 years ago, we were up to 39 employees. So it's having a huge negative impact on staff morale, outcome, and fortunately, we have great employees that are getting through this difficult time. So we just want to make sure to support them. But the other part of this equation is I don't know what's happening with the outcome with a third-party operator. So that might be something that happens next week, next month, next year. I don't know. So I'm sure that's something that's going to have an impact. And as soon as I get more information, I can share that with you.
Okay. Dale, I know you have to leave at 4. So Troy, if we could run through this wish list really quick. Just want to give a good idea to the rest of the park board on, what the pros see every day and what they feel they need.
So in general, I think there's a lot of high-level items here in regards to how we operate. And I have a meeting with the golf pros tomorrow, and then I have a meeting with the superintendents tomorrow as well. And I'm going to go through this list with them. There's a lot of things that we can actually implement. There's a lot of things that are just really low-hanging fruit. An example is more hot food in the snack bar. There might be a way of getting that done. Some other things in regards to a computer station and for the golfers to use when entering their scores. I might be able to find some rehabbed computers to put into the lobby and make those things happen. So there's a lot of things in here that we can probably address. There's other things that they probably don't know. And one of them is, an example is carry Coke products. Well, we do have a contract with another vendor, and we do get $25,000 a year. So if we end up offering all these products, then we probably, well, I know we will lose out on $25,000 a year plus merchandise that they provide for staff as well as for tournaments. So I think a good strategy on this is for me to go ahead and work with the staff, addressing a lot of these, especially some of the low-hanging fruit. We can make this happen, and hopefully it'll have a stronger impact on customer service and the operations of the golf courses. Some of the other things to educate them, we can definitely spend time on sharing why some of these things are the way they are. One item, and I think it's one of the item that we want to talk about today, is in regards to single rider golf carts, and maybe this is the time to start that discussion.
That's fine with me.
Okay, I see Ty, you still have your hand up.
My bad. My hand's not up. Sorry.
I have my hand up. I would endorse that idea that Troy takes a look at that in the next month and sort through it and see what kind of report back. The only point I had added at our GAC meeting, that this is a great list, but everything we do as a business enterprise fund needs to be analyzed in a cost benefit analysis. So these are good ideas, but they all have to have a financial assessment with them. I suspect most of them do result in the possibility of increased revenue, which is great. And that's the point of getting the pros involved. That 25,000, Troy, does that go to the golf division or does that go to the general fund?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. It goes to the golf division.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, any revenues that's associated with golf goes to the golf revenues. So I guess I'll go ahead and I'll use your little, Eddie, your little tee up. So to tee this up in regards to the golf carts. Golf carts is a huge revenue maker for us. And over the past 8-9 months, we've been going with single rider carts, which is a loss of revenue for us, as well as additional maintenance, wear and tear, some other overhead costs such as gas, which is really not a whole lot, but it starts to add up after a while. So we started looking at the possibility of going back to two-person rider carts, and kind of took a look at what some of the other golf courses are doing, and they're moving in that direction as well. We found several examples, as well as their intention to move that direction as well. The other part of this too was we wanted to make sure that we're safe, and that was obviously we've been very, very conservative in regards to COVID, very safe in regards to all the best practices that we've been employing. And so we took a look at what would this impact be if we had two riders on the golf cart. And being outside, being that they would wear masks, we found that there's this opportunity to go back to our regular operations in regards to two riders on a golf cart, which would increase our revenue and reduce the overhead and maintenance costs. As I was looking at Citric County's 14-day average in regards to positive COVID cases, it's been reducing like a sinking rock. It's a month ago it was 5%. 2 weeks ago it was under 4%. As of today, it's at 3.1. So we took a look at that and kind of made this determination that if and when it gets underneath 4%, and we actually see 3 days in a row of declining cases, that we would be feeling pretty comfortable moving forward, going back to 2 riders per cart. If the infection rate was to spike back up over 4%, we would go back to single rider carts. So that's kind of a little bit of a background. I think you guys had some conversation on Thursday. So yeah, that's kind of tease it up for you, Eddie.
Thank you. Trying to get myself off mute here. Yeah, we did discuss this on Thursday, and everyone has their own opinion on best practices and everything else. I think we got bogged down a little bit, not necessarily on the revenues or the courses or whatever, but going back to this wish list that the professionals generously gave us. Every single one of them, if I'm not mistaken, have stated that we need to go back to 2-rider golf carts as soon as possible. And I think it was brought up to push it back a month, which is, to me, is a bit of a slippery slope. And it's my understanding that our original plan was to go back to dual rider golf carts this weekend, and we decided to stick with the single rider golf carts to be safe. So in my opinion, I like the baseline. Everything about this should have a baseline. You can't just say it's getting better or it's getting worse. That's too generic. So that 4% baseline, I think, is reasonable. Another thing is we need a deadline. We need to circle something on the calendar, a date on the calendar, and say this is it. This is when we're making the decision. I like the 3 days. If it continues to stay under 4%, Troy, you brought that up earlier. I think I like that, but as long as we have something in place, a baseline in place that gives us an off ramp, if you will, that's a lot better than just saying it's getting better or getting worse, because I think that's too open-ended. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions for Troy, discussion. Dale, I know you and I went after this pretty good on Thursday, so I'm sure you have some thoughts as well.
Yes, I do. I'd just like to take the park board through the process so they understand what happened. The decision was made by the city, I assume Mr. Hauptman, to go to the 2-rider system. It was posted on Golf Wichita on the Facebook page. There was immediate pushback. The first we learned of it was at the GAC meeting when it was announced. I raised questions about the appropriateness of that at that time. Found some support from Niall Dillmore and Richard Schodorf. You and your appointee and Nancy Knott voted against it. It died in a 3-3 vote. The vote was to take the park board, recommend that the park board review this and look for a month delay. That Saturday, the new policy went into effect. I played that day. There was serious pushback from golfers. A number of them, but as you might expect, were upset about it. In the meantime, Mr. Schodorf did some homework and published an email, which he sent to most of us, and consulted with the county and informed us that the county said, no, you can't make that change. You have to have single riders unless both riders are the members of the same household, or if you mandate the use of a mask. No discretion. That point was made by Mr. Schodorf. The next day, the policy was reversed. We're now back to single riders. I don't know if Mr. Hauptman's even aware of that. We are now back again to single rider golf carts until pending further action. The only concern I had is this process. These protocols were put into place after council review. There's a workshop about all the things we could do, and for the action to be taken somewhat independently by the staff. This is a rate decision, a revenue decision, a policy decision that seemed like might benefit from more input before it was enacted. I also checked around Sand Creek in Newton, which is a well-run enterprise, is going to dual riders as well, but they put it on delay till April 1st. And they had the caveat, if you want to have a single cart at that point, there's a small surcharge. We're charging the full rate. You're essentially paying double what we're paying now to have that privilege of riding in a single cart. I just would I mean, again, since the policy has apparently been reversed, I'd again just make the case I made the GAC that wouldn't it make some sense to wait till April 1st? I know those numbers you're talking about, Troy, but I also see the news every day and the fears of a major surge from the variants that are in place. We have a lot of unknowns right now. And to err on the side of safety, to me, makes some sense. Mr. Fonstock made a passionate case for the right of the individual to do what they want in this circumstance and make their own decision. But in this case, when there's safety involved, you're talking about the safety of others as well. Those are considerations, but that's not our decision. That was kind of a council decision to begin with. This is an important policy issue that I just question the process where it's made by staff without notice, without input. It's a big deal to a lot of people. So that's where it is. I guess for now, we're back to single riders. So perhaps the park board may want to make some recommendation. And I would just restate, I think by April 1st, there will be more known about the safety issues that may still be in play and whether or not this is prudent for the golf division to continue down this road. I understand the loss of revenue, understand the wear and tear on the carts. Those are cost of living or cost of business things that came with the pandemic, unfortunately. The sooner we get back to normal, I'm all for that. I would like to get the dual riders immediately, but there is a question of safety. 2 people riding in a cart is different than 4 people standing on a tee box where you can't get closer than 4 feet or you'll get hit with a golf club. On a golf cart, you're sitting side by side on a more extended period of time. So that was one of the distinctions. That's all. Whatever you want to do is fine at this point. I just thought the process was a little flawed. I'd like to think that when the staff does this, they've got support going forward. I think there was some disconnect with the county on that. If Mr. Shodor's research is accurate, and I think it is, then perhaps we need to sit back and, so I don't know, where are we, Troy, right now? Are we going to stay with the 1 rider system indefinitely or wait till a certain point or?
So I thought the idea of having a conversation here would be important and getting direction from the park board.
Troy Palmer, do you have a question?
I did, but I'm going to hold it for a moment.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this? I mean, we can go back and forth on this all day on what we feel is right. I'm not going to pretend to be a virus expert, safety expert at that, a scientist, the farthest thing from that. Troy, if you don't mind, Mr. Houtman, can you take us through Dale questions the processes. Can you take us through, your side of things on how we got to this and
Sure.
what processes we went through? Because I'm certain that it wasn't just a seat of the pants decision.
So as I mentioned, we took a long time to look at all the points that we can do to measure this and make some decisions. But going along with what the county is doing, they're really kind of lifting a lot of the restrictions, and we're actually able to do a lot more things outside. We're doing soccer, we're doing football, we're doing baseball, we have all kinds of athletic activities going on, and it's supported by the county. The idea behind this was that this activity is outdoors. They're going to be wearing masks. The infection rate is going down and continues to go down. We wanted to put some kind of caveat there. If it does go up, how are we going to address that? So that going up and above 4%, we would go back to single rider carts. The idea also that knowing that we have a lot more vaccinations going in, especially with the older population. So a lot of those indicators really said that we are moving in the right direction. Yes, we are paying very close attention to the news. We understand that there's the variants that can have an impact, And that's why we wanted to say, if there's going to be a change in regards to the infection rate, that we would go ahead and go back to single rider carts. And not only for that, but also for other activities within the park and recreation department, that we would end up making some changes. So it was a very comprehensive look at how we're doing business and how are we moving forward. Again, we want to make sure that we're being safe. So when there was concern and questions about this change in operation, we heard it over the weekend, and actually I did do a poll with a lot of our staff, and there was not a whole lot of pushback. Dale, you probably got some specific feedback, I'm sure you did, from some specific golfers, but in general from my golf staff, I didn't get a whole lot of pushback. But we want to make sure we're safe, and if there's questions that we want to answer and we want to delay, we can definitely do that. But I think this idea of going with the 14-day average, there's actually a measurement that we can go with and actually kind of determine and make some decisions in operations in regards to that.
So Mr. Shodor's comments, were they valid? Were they accurate? He also talked to PGA to get further guidance. And where are we right now, Troy? We reversed it Sunday, so we're back to single rider?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and how long do you think we'll go that way before we consider going to the 2 riders?
Again, I think it's a vote that we get some support and some dialogue with the park board. And if you guys want to give me some direction, that would be great. Like I mentioned, we can wait a month, 3 weeks. We can kick this off and make another evaluation on March 29th. But I think the idea of using the rolling average infectious rate is a good tool for us to use. So if we end up going above 4%, that we would go back to single rider carts. If we're below that for 3 days and continue to look at this trend going down, that especially if we're outdoors and we're wearing masks, then I think there's an opportunity for us to operate safely in this situation.
What is our policy on changing rates? When we had a proposal to raise cart fees, that had to go through this park board, city council. In this case, we're making changes in rates just on a seat of our pants kind of thing. How is this different?
I don't realize that we're changing rates. I think we're changing our operational aspects of how we're doing things.
You're changing the rate. I'm going to pay double for what I was paying before. That's a rate change, which
for 2 riders.
But it's a rate. It's a part of our rate structure. How we determine what we pay, when we pay, is a rate structure.
I don't think there's any changes in regards to whether it's $22 or whether it's, nobody's changing the rate.
Yeah, if I take a cart by myself,
oh my God,
on Saturday, I'd pay $25. If I take a cart by myself on Sunday, I'd pay $12. That's a rate change.
What it is if you're riding by yourself, you pay for a whole cart. If you're riding with two people, you split the cart.
On Saturday, I would pay full riding by myself. On Sunday, I'd pay half. That's a rate change. Which is, if that's the way we do business, that's the way we do business. It's pretty willy-nilly that we just do this without a little more respect for process. If board wants to go, but so why are you coming to us anyway? Just go ahead and do it, and like you did it on Saturday. Why the change now?
I'll clear the way for you, Troy. I'll make a motion that we go to 2 riders with the plateau of staying, if we're under 4%, then we stay with 2 riders. If we go above that, then we go back to single riders. So I'll make that motion to start.
For 3 consecutive days.
For 3 consecutive days. Yep. Thank you, Ty. And I will second that.
as Mr. Schodorf urged, could we get some input from the county as to whether this is consistent with what they're requiring? If it is, fine. Again, it's making decisions without full knowledge. Are you not concerned that the county is the authority on this matter?
Well, the county is approving all kinds of outdoor events, being running events or even baseball games where you're not going to sit 2 feet apart. The county is making those, and I'm sure that Mr. Houtman and his staff are very much in contact with the county. So I appreciate Mr. Shorthoff, who is my appointee, his research with calling everybody, including the PGA and stuff. But we are Sedgwick County, we're the city of Wichita. That's what we're concerned about. Our numbers are dropping, and we're in a good place as far as this pandemic. And if people are nervous about it, they can pay for one cart by themselves, or they cannot golf. But instead of putting this mandate across everybody, we need to move forward. And I hear what you're saying, Dale, but it's time to move forward.
And I'm fine with moving forward when we're doing it with, you folks are acting like you do have all the command of the scientific information. I respect your efforts, but I just hope that it's more inclusive than that. It is what it is. Again, I guess the merits of it are one thing. I'm not going to put much faith in this group's interpretation of scientific data on its own. I'd like to go to a more credible source to have that. But nonetheless, the process is the main concern. If Troy was empowered to make the decision last Thursday, then he's empowered to make it right now. Why are we changing that now? Are we saying you can't change unless you come to the park board for this change?
I think we're just placing a baseline. I think we're just placing a baseline on this, which I think is important in any aspect of government, business, life. You can't just say it's getting better, it's getting worse, and then fly by the seat of your pants. I think this is what we're doing right now with this 4%, 3 consecutive days below 4% baseline.
Does the park board have that authority? Mr. Lenski, is that if this is passed by the park board, is that a binding action upon the staff?
Yes, I would think it would be. Sitting here listening to this, I would be more comfortable if the county approved this, but it looks like the county has spoken, if we believe what Mr. Shodorf tells us, and I don't know why we wouldn't, that 2 people can share a card if they're from the same family or they both wear masks. And is that going to be the condition of the 2 carts per your motion, or you're just saying 2 people can ride together regardless, as long as this baseline is met?
I would say as long as the baseline's met, and if they want to wear masks, no one's saying they can't wear masks. You can wear masks. I wouldn't make it part of my motion that they had to.
But Mr. Orlinski's point is valid. The county has said this, so we're going to go counter to what the county has dictated as the rule here. That's a pretty ambitious action by a park board.
So
I would think the county's contradicting themselves when they're letting other events happen.
I don't know.
If they won't let us golf 2 people in a golf cart.
And that's an argument to take to the county, but they are the authority.
They are.
From a staff perspective, operationally, our expectation was that they would wear their masks while they're riding in the golf cart. Now, if they want to take it off to hit a shot, tee up or do something on the green, then they can definitely do that. But while there's 2 people in the cart, the expectation would be that they would wear their mask.
So as they're not from the same household, correct? If you're from the same household, you can live your life. Okay.
Correct.
Sorry, Elizabeth.
That's fine with me. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Are there any liability concerns that you see, making a recommendation right now? mean, I know, Mr. Schodorf sent us all a email over the weekend, saying that he's talked to a few different groups. I'm not sure if you've spoke with Mr. Schodorf or if your staff has.
He did not. We're puzzled by his statement. We don't know who he attempted to contact. It was not me. It was not Miss Magana, and no one else forwarded any email or any call from him. So I'm not sure who he attempted to contact. But no, the first I saw that, in fact, I didn't even notice his statement about trying to contact the city attorney until this morning when I was rereading his email and reading it a bit closer. But as far as liability, we've got our recreational use immunity as a municipality, which would be a little bit different than the privately owned golf courses. COVID liability is unknown at this point.
Eddie, I have to go. Whatever the park board decides is fine. I just wanted the issue to be brought forward for your consideration. You know the facts. Whatever the park board decides is fine. I would vote against imposing it right now, and I would support waiting till April 1st and just have a little more measured response. Whatever you decide is fine. I appreciate your listening to it, and I'll catch up to you at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Dale.
So kind of add on what Elizabeth is talking about, we have the same type of liability in all of our other activities. So whether we have our running races, we have football, we have softball, we have, all those folks are following the same restrictions or the instructions coming from the county. So like softball, they're required to wear their masks in the dugout while they're in close quarters. But once they go out to play in the field, they can take off their masks. Football, we have youth football going on with practices. We had it this fall, but we also have flag football coming up, kind of the same situation. So as long as we're following the county's orders, which is what we are always adapting our programs and activities to do, I think we're in pretty good shape. Same thing in this situation. Two people in a golf cart, if they're wearing their masks, and they're from different household, that if they're from the same household, they don't have to, but if they're from different household, they should be okay. And we should be okay in regards to liability. I
agree with that. Totally.
Okay.
Troy, do they sign a liability waiver, or how are they acknowledging that, they're doing this at their own risk? And
same thing with any other activity. Somebody plays football, they can get a risk of breaking their leg. Somebody could be playing softball, they could have this risk of hitting their head.
I guess are we as people are participating in some of these city run leagues or sports or whatever it may be, like are we having them sign a liability, like a specific COVID-19 liability waiver that says, if you get COVID?
Nope.
I drafted COVID.
I mean, if that's the case, then everybody who's playing golf right now should be signing a waiver as they step into the clubhouse, as they step onto the golf course. Just because
every restaurant and everything else, you'd have to sign a waiver. That's ridiculous.
I see where you're coming from, Alejo. That just that mitigates risk for us, both park staff and this board.
Well,
so
one thing to acknowledge too, though. I mean, sorry, Eddie, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is like we could make these instructions. We can give these instructions to folks, but I mean, can we be honest here and acknowledge that people aren't gonna put their mask on to drive the cart, to take it off, to hit a golf ball, and put it back on to get back into their cart? I mean, I haven't been out to one of our courses this year, but I mean I'm imagining. I think it'd be safe to assume that folks aren't doing that.
And I think that's their prerogative. That's their choice. Just like if they're going to our park and they're at the playground, there's nobody there to give them direction to put their mask back on. Same thing at a restaurant. Same thing at any other kind of public gathering.
Yep. And all this is doing, again, to get back to the original motion made by Troy, is, you know, we're putting a baseline into place so that we can have a running understanding of where we are at in terms of infection rates. If it ever gets above a certain number, which we deemed, I believe, 4%, we go back to single rider golf carts. And if it stays under that for 3 consecutive days, then it is up to the individual, their own prerogative. If they want to ride with, you know, a stranger in a golf cart with their mask on, go for it. All of our situations are different. I believe the CDC just came out today and said if your vaccinations are complete, you are now safe to mingle inside with other completed vaccinations. So everyone's situation is different. If they feel comfortable enough to get in a golf cart or play a round of golf for that matter with a stranger, I'm not going to sit here and tell them, nope, you got to ride one golf cart. But this gives us a baseline to say, okay, it went above the threshold that we set back on March 8th. We have to go to single rider golf carts. If it's below that, it's up to you.
So can we vote on that resolution already? It seems like that's on the table, right? I mean, we're kind of belaboring this point. I think everybody's in agreement.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, thank you, Ty. That's kind of where I was going with that. There is a motion and a second, and if there is no further discussion, I would like to take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Dale said no.
Dale,
Dale
not
was-
here.
And I think the implementation, to give some time to, I think there's a lot of confusion going back and forth the past 2 or 3 days. So I'm going to make the suggestion that we implement this a week from today.
I
That's fair.
disagree. We make it now. What's the difference if we wait a week to now? Just out of curiosity.
Education for my staff, making sure that we get this piece of information out to the right people, educating our golfers as well, getting them prepared so it's not a total shock. So that's what I'm going to suggest, that we implement it a week from today.
Okay, so that your staff has time to understand what's going on and everything. Okay. I don't think we need to make a motion for that. That's Troy, that's up to you to communicate with your staff. I believe you mentioned you've got a meeting with all the pros and superintendents tomorrow. Please communicate with them. And we'll plan on seeing this in effect next Monday.
Okay. And we'll monitor if there's any kind of changes. We'll react quickly and make sure that we communicate. And if we end up going above 4%, we'll make sure that as we go back to single rider carts, we'll make sure you guys are aware of that as well.
Thank you. All right, that concludes the golf update. There are new items for consideration. So continuation of prior business. There is one item, and that is the creation of subcommittees. I believe back in December at our board retreat, we mentioned that this might be something to look at. We selected, I believe, 6 or 7, Troy. 6 items for consideration, if you will. I don't have those in front of me right now. I can look through my emails here. But Troy, if you want to, if you've got it by chance.
I don't have them handy. Let me look through my emails real quick.
I think it's this would give everybody an opportunity to kind of find their spot and their niche. As we all know, we have different specialties. I think this would allow us to become stronger as a board in the long run, both now and in the long run. I think there was the golf division which in my opinion, Dale would be fantastic for. He's already on the committee. He's obviously very passionate about it. So that would be my recommendation. I believe we had the Riverfront Master Plan Committee. And Ty and Alejo, you guys both would be fantastic on something like that. So if you guys want to discuss now, later, doesn't matter to me. I think, again, you guys kind of fit that mold, and you're tuned in to the downtown core. Certainly would be fantastic to have either one of you on that. Troy, did you find it?
Yep, I did.
Perfect.
So you mentioned we have golf, CIP, finance. And I think it's a good idea to split the two, because even though we kind of lump sometimes CIP with finance, two different things. Capital improvements is more about construction, and finance is more about day-to-day operations. So one would be rec, one would be park, and then we would have the Riverfront Master Plan. So that's 6, one for each of the board members, and then as the president, that you would make sure they're all getting it done.
All right.
And what we talked about was we can have 2 updates. We don't have to have a full committee update every single meeting. That maybe 2 committees would update every month, and that way we'd have a 3-month rotation, so they can stay up to breast on things.
Yep. Okay, so how do we need to appoint these individuals? Can they, okay.
Yeah, I would suggest if anybody has one that they're particularly fond of, and I think you're right, Mr. Goder would be the golf one, but
I will tentatively put him in golf. I think it's fairly safe to say that he's passionate about that and would like to spearhead that.
Yeah, I would volunteer for the CIP committee. To be honest, based on some conversations I've had the last couple of weeks, I'm not sure there's going to be much going on with that Riverfront Legacy Master Plan this year. And we can periodically report out, but having spoken to a couple of people on the steering committee, there's just no thinking that it's going to get going in the next, 3 to 6 months.
Are there any studies out there right now, Ty, that they're looking into with either the architect, the engineers?
Honestly, I haven't heard if they're updating that information or not.
Yeah, when I spoke to them in early February, and they were starting to re-engage the consultants to update those numbers on that study. So I would imagine that, hopefully by the end of Q2, they have something more tangible. But I think Ty's correct in the sense that they'll have to start from the ground up almost, at least from the community engagement side and the education piece of it. But it'll be an opportunity for us to help influence it as the park board. So the updates for that committee might come later on in the year.
Right.
I think it's important that we stay involved with that group. Certainly want to have a seat at the table when the time comes, and they've been great to work with. They've been very forthright, reaching out to several of us and getting our thoughts. But I want to make sure that we are the best advocates that we can be. So I don't want to take that. I don't want to take that off the list here.
I'd be happy to, if it means serving on 2 committees and keeping you guys up to date on this. I'd be happy to do that if that works for you, Eddie.
I'll put you down. I think our plan, Alejo, since we have 6 and we've got 6 board members and a chairman, I'm going to kind of oversee all of them,
Okay.
but not necessarily spearhead one. So if you don't mind, I think there's 3 more.
No, that works.
Okay. Does anybody want to volunteer for finance?
Parks.
This is Emma. I think I can be part of the finance group.
That would be awesome to have you, Emma.
So Emma, obviously by default, since you're staff, that would be your responsibility. But I think we're looking for a park board member to take that.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
We definitely want you there, Emma.
Yep, I'll be there.
We're not letting you off the hook that easy.
Yep, sounds good.
Troy, did you say
Parks.
parks?
Parks. Yep.
Okay. Tori and Hoyt, can you guys hear us? Maybe they can hear us, but I know there's been some.
We've lost Hoyt again.
Okay.
He keeps going in and out.
And Tori, is the T down there, Tori? Oh, that's Tori.
Oh, there's Hoyt coming back again. And Tori shows that she's in the meeting. I don't know if she has audio.
There's White.
Hoyt,
is
can you hear us? I'm gonna go with a no there. Okay, not bad. We've got 4 out of the 6, so that's, we're 66, 67% here. Not too bad. If we are able to get Tori or Hoyt's audio working, maybe we can recalibrate at the end of the meeting. Hoyt, can you hear us? I'm seeing your. Okay, so no. We can circle back possibly at the end of the meeting.
I'm here.
And if
Maybe.
we
Eddie,
can't
can
get
you
them
hear
on. Okay. If we can't get them on, then I'll reach out via email, make sure everybody's on that. So not too bad. We got 4 out of 6. Fairly painful. Is that okay with you, Troy? Since they're
Yeah, that's
technical.
fine. I think if they email Penny and I, then we can go ahead and start organizing everything. That would be great, and we'll bring it back next month for you guys to do your final vote.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
We skipped the recreation. We still have a park update. We have some finance. A couple of items that are pretty quick probably is the park foundation and the president's update. We're having a hard time with getting feedback from everybody. Well, actually from Tori and from Hoyt. Dale is gone. I would suggest that we kind of table some of these items for next month. And the one item that I would like to have a quick update is with finance, and then call it a meeting after that. That's okay.
That's fine with me. Yep.
Okay.
Reggie, I'm sorry. I know we skipped you last meeting as well. So this makes it 2 months in a row.
No
hard
problem.
feelings.
Angela's actually here for last month, and I was going to do this month, so we could just put it off to the following month when we have a little bit more time.
Well, we know you're doing some great work in the community, so no worries, and we'll catch up with you next month, okay? Okay.
Emma, if you could give us just a really quick update on
Yep.
budget and finance.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a PowerPoint if you guys are interested, but it's very short and sweet. So last meeting we talked about 2020 actuals and compare to 19. So we have a reference on how things went or the impact of COVID compared to a normal year. And this year I put together very quick 3 slides. I'm not sure if you guys can see right now. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can see them, and then we'll also email these to you guys after the meeting.
Yep, I can do that too. So I just very high level, and you guys, if you guys have questions on specifics, just email me the questions. But as of now, I have revenue goals for all divisions by year. So over here, I think folks are asking about 2021 budget. That's why I have this line over here. It says 2021 budget, but it would be good to have a comparison of what happened in 2020 and 2020 budget as well. This year might be similar to last year, not 100%, but in a sense, the COVID impact is still lingering. And because of it, there might be a revised budget. I think budget office said about June timeframe, they might roll out new revised budget. So just keep in mind that might change 2021 budget, but we don't know as of yet. And this is on revenue side, and revenue is a goal for us to meet. So there are goals for recreation. As you can see, most revenue goal comes from recreation, and a little bit on park maintenance side from special events. On expense side, I did a similar thing as far as how department look as a whole, where things are at for 2020 budget, actuals, and then a 2021 budget. And the same with divisions. I have all those numbers in here. I have a little bit explanation on just numbers where it's from, but if you have questions, just let me know. Or if you want to drill down to details where things are at, let me know as well. And this is just different sort of slicing the information. That's the third slide has the division information, and this one has categories. If you guys are interested in personnel, contractuals, or any other items you're interested in, just let me know. I can provide more information. And again, similar principle applies. Everyone's very interested in 21 budget, but it's good to have comparison to 2020 because COVID, and also has actuals I throw back in there as well, so you get to see what happened last year. We're forecasting better revenue this year for sure, but we just don't know until it happens. Expense side is gonna go up because we're gonna have pool expenses on personnel, because last year we had all pool location closed, and this year we're planning on reopening 6 pools, so we need a staffing cost for that. And last meeting, I talked about staffs, what the staffs look like as far as budget process goes. And this time I provide the dates. So as you can see, all the important days I put in here, and we talk about how, if folks want to get more involved, which days you should pay attention to, and in which categories you can participate in those budget hearing process. So it's just a bunch of information. But yeah, is that okay, Troy? Short and sweet.
Yep, I think that's good. Just wanted you guys to know that information is out there. We'll send Emma, if you send this to Penny, and Penny will send it to all the council or all the board members, the park board members. And it kind of gives you an overview, but if there's more information that you want us to drill down on, we'll come back and give you guys more information. Right now we're going through the budget process, and we're going to go through a CIP process, and it's going to be a difficult year again. And so we're just having to prepare for all that.
Okay. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Troy. That was short and sweet.
Yep.
But very informative. Thank you.
Thanks.
Did we want to give an update, Alejo, with the Parks Foundation, or do we want to, since we've got 3 or 4 on here, do we want to just go ahead and wrap this up?
We can wrap it up. We don't have anything too pressing at the park board or the Parks Foundation. They're just, correct me if I'm wrong, Troy. The big thing is just identifying different projects for Place for Parks, and the big one is, which looks like they're moving forward on, is the placement of some benches around the city in various parks that will be used to celebrate some of our most influential Wichitans.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't have a president's update other than I wish congratulations to the Shocker men's basketball team and Isaac Brown for capturing their first American championship over the weekend. So if word gets back to them, I want to make sure that we have sent our correct congratulatory message. So other than that, I don't have anything else. So Troy, director's update, if you got one.
Just one final note is that next week is our visitation from Capra for our accreditation. So we're prepared. I think we have been taking a lot of things, just developing all of our self-assessments and all of our policies and procedures. So pretty excited about that. I think, Eddie, you're going to receive a phone call. But since it's virtual, we are going to be having a lot of phone calls or Zoom meetings next week. Anxious to get it over with, but I think we're prepared. We really got everything in place.
Awesome. Certainly hope everyone sends their well wishes next week and all their good energies. I know the staff has worked really, really hard and tirelessly on this thing, and it's important. It's important for us to be accredited, and certainly want to extend our thanks as a board to all the staff's hard work and for making this thing happen. So good energies next week, good thoughts, and everything will work out. So good job. If there's nothing else, we can adjourn.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Love you guys.